Hi. I thought it would be a good idea to go over homework 93 together so that you could see the difference between graphing cosine and tangent, cotangent and tangent. Hopefully you understand how to graph sine and cosine, the difference between those. If you don't, you need to ask. No one's asking me any questions, and I can make as many videos as I need to explain things. So you need to start asking questions if you don't understand. On question number 19, it says graph y equals 4 cotangent x. So it looks just like cotangent x, but instead of going up to 1, it goes up to 4 and down to negative 4. And the y-axis is one of the asymptotes, where if it was tangent, it would look like this, going this way. The curve would be going this way, and it would go through the origin. And the asymptote would be at pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. But with cotangent, the period is still pi. The asymptotes are pi apart, but one's at 0 and one is at pi and one is at 2 pi. And you're supposed to label the asymptotes at the bottom of the graph. And then halfway to pi is pi over 2, so that's where the inflection point is, where it curves from going this way to going that way. And it goes down to negative 4 at 3 pi over 4 and up to 4 at pi over 4. There's 4 marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And the domain is pi k, where k is an element of z, the integers, because it's every pi. 0 pi, 1 pi, 2 pi, negative 1 pi, negative 2 pi, all the pi's. And the range is from negative infinity to infinity. For your graph number 20, the domain stays the same, so does the range. The y-axis is still an asymptote, but it says negative 3. So we're going to take the shape of cotangent, which goes like this from the last problem, and we're going to reflect it over the x-axis. So it looks like tangent, but I know it's not tangent because it doesn't go through the origin. The y-axis is not intersected by the graph, so I know it's a negative cotangent, and it goes up to 3 at 3 pi over 4 and down to negative 3 at pi over 4. Don't do pi over 3s and pi over 6s with tangent or cotangent unless they change the period, because those are weird values, and just use the 1s and the negative 1s, which are pi over 4s, and then multiply them times whatever the amplitude is. So it's once again 0, pi, 2 pi, etc. And you graph 2 cycles, 2 periods of it. If we look at the next one, we change the period. You do pi over w. With sine and cosine, you do 2 pi over w. And when you take pi and divide by 1/4, you multiply by the reciprocal and you get 4 pi. So 4 pi is the distance between the asymptotes, from 0 to 4 pi, and then to 8 pi, because we're doing 2 periods. It's shaped like cosine. It doesn't intersect the y-axis. That's one of the asymptotes. Halfway to 4 pi is 2 pi. So that's where the 2 pi 0 is, the inflection point. Halfway from 0 to 2 pi is pi. So that's why it goes up to 1 there, because the number in front is 1. And then it's 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi, 8 pi. So we're going by pi's. And the domain is 4 pi k, because it's the period times k, where k is out of the integers. So this time the period is 4 pi, so it's every 4 pi where there's an asymptote. The next one, we're dividing by pi over 4, and the pi's cancel, so we just get 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's almost exactly like above, but all the pi's are gone. They're numbers instead of pi's. And so it's 4k, where k is an element integer. Because if k was 3, it would be 12, and that would be the next one. If k was -2, it would be -8, which would be 2 of them over here. So it's 4k, where k is an element in the integers. This should look like cotangent to you, this shape, with the inflection point halfway to 4, which is 2, 2, 0. So tangent goes this way, cotangent goes this way. So here's a tangent one. It says 1/4 x plus 1. So that's a vertical shift up 1. So you do pi over 1/4, which is 4 pi. And you cut it in half to find out where the asymptotes go. Because the y-axis cuts one of the periods in half. So half of 4 pi is 2 pi. So it's going to be 2 pi on the right and 2 pi on the left. And then we go up 1. So 0, 1 instead. And then the next one goes to 2. And this one goes down to 0. So since it's 2 pi to the left and 2 pi to the right, pi is in the middle. So it's pi 0, 0, 1, pi 2. It's negative pi 0 right here. 0, 1, and pi 2. And then we have an asymptote at x equals 2 pi. So the next one's 3 pi, 4 pi, and the next one would be 5 pi right here. So this is 4 pi, it should be 1, and 5 pi would be 2. See, you guys need to speak up so that I can fix my mistakes. So we went up, we didn't do 2 graphs because it's confusing to see 2 graphs, so we just went up automatically at the beginning. So instead of going through 0, 0, we went through 0, 1. And then the last graph is another cotangent graph. There's a 2 in front, so we're going to go up to 2, and we're going to go down 1. Vertical stretch by factor of 2, translate down 1. So the period is still pi. So we're going to have 0, pi, and 2 pi, 2 periods. And we're going to go down to -1, halfway between 0 and pi, which is pi over 2, -1. But the amplitude is 2, so it goes up 2 more than that to pi over 4, 1. From -1 to 1, it's up 2. And then down 2 from -1 is -3. So it's 3 pi over 4, comma, -3. Our asymptote is at pi. Then we have 5 pi over 4, which is at the same place as pi over 4. They're pi apart. It's at 1. 3 pi over 2, which is halfway between pi and 2 pi, is at -1. And then at -3 would be the next one at 7 pi over 4. But you only need 5 points on your graph. So I'm going to do a new lesson for tomorrow. A bunch of you haven't put up your graphs of sine, cosine, and tangent from, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, it was Monday. So please do that if you can. That would be really helpful. Thank you.